Forever is the strangest thing. It's shorter than you think. No think. Longing is the music of our sphere. The gift of life is never more or less. It starts at any time you like and ends in just a wink. Pass me the lighter, baby.
Kia ora koutou whakaroa lahi atu, Elliot Ikilei here. It is my pleasure to welcome you in. Look, this is a late night chat. Alright, this is a late night chat. And I suppose one of the reasons for that is that some of the crew have been asking me, some of you guys have been asking me if it is alright if I can do a bit of a late night chat every so often. So we're just working out on a day that can work, for myself, as in for the family, right, and for yourselves as well, because we want to make sure that we bring you what's really important, what's going on there. So, kia ora. Oh, Ginny, good to see you there. Really good. Rose, good evening. Good evening. All right, Tina, all right, good evening. Great people. Awesome. And look, I love that. Tina's actually said it really well. I'm here to converse and to talk about some of the real important topics of the day, but also be in those chats and have a discussion as well. I'll make sure that I can get to your chats and your questions as well. All right, so absolutely all good. Lucy, good to see you. Tano wha. All right, Rebecca, Joe. Oh, look, everyone. Melissa. Oh, Melissa Dobbs. Hey, we got some famous people on here as well. That's awesome. Great stuff. All right, so there has been some real big news today, and that, of course, would also partly be to do around with the FENS issue, that is the firefighters. Last week, as you know, the firefighters had to strike for an hour between 11 and 12, and I think there was something around about 11 incidents. There were 11 events, and they were able to hold that off. They were able to have other people, and this is what was really good about the firefighters, that they were able to have enough coverage to be able to look after us, the community, the people who are absolutely in need of our firefighters. And so they were able to source it. At most minutes of every day, there are needs, emergency events for our most trusted industry, that is the firefighters, to get out there and to save people. That's what it's for. That's what goes on with them. And it's extraordinary because firefighters will often have, over the years, they've had some issues with morale and some issues with pay, and it goes up and down a little bit. But never in my lifetime have I ever seen morale as low, the desperation of the firefighters as desperate. This is a government who have been able to break the most trusted industry in New Zealand. That's an extraordinary event. It's absolutely incredible. Ginny's put in here something which is actually something we do need to probably discuss. Did you know that Carol Smith, Hannah and Calvin were arrested and released? Yes, we have heard that, Ginny. That's incredibly worrying. Look, I'm just going to adjust my little monitor here a bit. All right. Yes, absolutely. This is quite extraordinary. If you look at Chantel Baker, that her opinion-based area was absolutely shut down. You look at Callisman being attacked and done over. And yes, we do know that, I believe it would be very viable to say that a lot of the attacks are coming from that taxpayer-funded article by Paula Penfold that is of the Fury, the Fire and Fury article, where she had lots of spooky music, lots of blah, that sort of thing as well, and that she cut a lot of things out of context and just basically went after people, really smeared them. And so quite a vicious assault upon free speech, upon discourse, upon normal Kiwis. Because if you have a look at it, the majority of independent media are normal Kiwis. We all work. I work in the trades. These other guys, they work in buildings, or they're going out there and hustling for their money. They're working double shifts. They've got to figure out where to send their kids off to when they come out of school. They've got to work out how to get the independent media done outside of looking after the family, of how to pay the bills. Whereas these guys, they're getting taxpayer money. They've got access to everything. I'll clue you in on something. We've got the capacity, the Daily Examiner has the capacity to actually go for funding if we put ourselves under the BSA, the Broadcasting Standards Authority. But we know that we would be assaulted and fined multiple times. Why? Because we make a stance on science. We believe science when it says that there are two genders. We believe that that the nuclear family is so important for our society that we should not be inculcating our children with gender ideologies and sexualization education. We believe in the family. We believe in New Zealand as a nation to be proud of. To be proud, to be patriotic, to have a sentimentality of our nation. We cannot. We're very confident that we are unable to exist under the BSA because that is an opinion that they say is wrong, outdated, unwanted. Jacinda Ardern has been noted to have said that in the UN contexts as well. It's shocking. Lucy here. Yes, our Poreroa firefighters are striking tomorrow, 11 a.m. for 1 hour, I think. But we need community members to attend to support our volunteer firefighters. My yard, so I work on different sites, and my yard is over in the North Shore area. I don't want to say too much about where it is, so I travel from South Auckland to the yard. It was so great to see that on a nearby corner, that's where they actually were striking and on the roundabout. I'm going to make sure I'm there tomorrow. All right, I'm going to make sure I'll be there tomorrow, see if we can get some nice films and shots and really give the platform to these guys who are the most trusted, who have felt betrayed by politicians and stamped on so much. And the fire crisis team have been very clear as well they have been open and transparent about what they are actually looking for. Look, I do. I want to see if I can. We'll have a bit of a look just to see what's going on here. All right, because it's important to see if we can get to find out what is going on. All right, so boom. All right, fire crisis team. All right, they are going to go ahead. Look, I hate saying the word look because that's been so destroyed by politicians. They keep on saying look. Have you noticed that? Look, look, look. I'm sure it's a passive-aggressive thing. Anyway, okay. All right. So here, they will be undertaking... All right, FENS is refusing. FENS has refused to continue mediation in the wake of its application in the Employment Relations Authority for facilitation. All right. Fire crisis, absolutely right. It is extraordinary that the leadership of an emergency service would prefer to sit on their hands for 4 weeks. 4 weeks, refusing to negotiate while weekly strike action continues. And I think we can all agree that there's probably an attempt to try to, again, manipulate public perception of this group. But because the fire crisis team are being very, very transparent, very honest, and very open with what they're dealing with and what they're doing, the public more and more have said, no, you know what, you guys have been straight up, you've been honest, you're speaking it out. All right, so it's extraordinary, just extraordinary what's going on there. All right, and I think we all know that the images that we're seeing, there's a lot of support out there, but we've also got appliances breaking down, you've got resources being cut, you've got various times the stations are being closed down, so they can't actually work on there. It's incredible that they are just being so under-resourced, unappreciated, underpaid, heavily underpaid. Because don't forget, the politicians that you're talking about here, they're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. All right, the taxpayer-funded, what was his name? The taxpayer-funded TEC CEO, I believe he was. He was getting $13,000 a week, and he was on full pay. And he's left, and we all know that it's going to be a pretty decent golden handshake as well. We're paying for this. Why are we paying for this? It's absolutely extraordinary. All right, so we are. Yes, I have heard that some people are actually standing up, and we'll definitely see if we can try to get them joining onto the show. All right, because I think that's something which is really, really important. So if you do have time, if you can, because it's 11 o'clock. All right, most of us are out there working. All right, but if you can, get around those firefighters, give them some support. All right, I'm going to say that I support them. I think that they do a friggin' awesome job. I really do. And I want them to feel appreciated by the society. Institutionally speaking, we do not support them because, again, the institution of New Zealand is built or amended by the politicians. They don't support. They don't. All right, so I think that's actually a really, really big one to engage in. Stuart, have you been in contact with Finlay Smith, who has been travelling the country regarding the plight of the firefighters? No, we haven't. Oh, sorry. I think one of our people is trying to get a hold so that we can have a bit of a chat, and I think that'll be really, really important and really, really good to see. But, share around, because I think that's actually something which is really important. The mainstream media of New Zealand are horrific. They really are. They are the enemy of the people. They are not giving a fair, balanced opinion. That has been proven by independent sources as well. Not just, hey, if I say it, you can say that I'm biased. Yes, I'm biased. The thing is, though, I've got backup to prove it. People have been giving independent sources to show that there is a heavy bias. And it's incredibly shocking. And I think the Fire and Fury article was a very good example of that. It was shocking. But if I was someone who was what we would regard as middle New Zealand, as in the Kiwis who don't really dig, who just want to work and look after their kids and have a beer every now and then, and they just want to live their life, I can understand why many of them would look at fury and fire, whatever it is, and just freak out and go, oh my gosh, there's some enemies. There's a whole bunch of Nazis running around, and they're manipulating brown people, because brown people apparently, according to this article, it appears that they are saying that brown people are idiots, stupid, able to be manipulated by nothing less than neo-Nazis. That's how fanciful, that's how insane that article was. Just extremely, Samuel Marsden said, you said you're biased. Is that why my questions are not being posted for your Q&A? Sorry, Samuel, I have no idea. I'll stick it up there if I can. I have no idea. Am I biased? Yes. But I would say that every human being is biased. We all have a bias. I am biased towards my family. My family mean more to me than most other people. All right? And your family, you should care more about them than other families. All right, bias is a very natural part. This is also why, just to let you know, this is why it's unconscious bias. That term, unconscious bias, is idiotic. It's a shockingly bad position for academics to take. So I don't know whether you know or not, but there is a push to put in diversity training into New Zealand systems, and to also test them using psychometric assessments called diversity tools. In the US, it was out there. They've had hundreds of thousands of diversity tests, and they found that it's absolutely nonsense. It's utterly shocking. Lee has said Fire and Fury was disgustingly distorted. Yes, absolutely right. Stacey Morrison. So sad. I heard 3 different stories from people yesterday. One lady now has AIDS, right, and her son myocarditis. Another one's nephew has myocarditis, and of a 32-year-old having a heart attack and dying, had a 10-day-old baby. I also have a sister-in-law with VAEDS, and the damage is massive, far more than we could imagine. Stacey, that's just... it's just shocking. It's just shocking. I mean, when you think about how we will be viewing things, how we will be engaging back towards, there has to be a reckoning for this. There's got to be people held accountable for it. Legally, we've got to be able to hold to account what has been done to us, in the future. And if you look at every tumultuous social fabric, when you look at the social fabric and the damage being done to it, historically speaking, those people have been dealt with by the law afterwards. And I think we need to remember this. There are, in Twitter, there are accounts, and they're saying, never forget, never forget. We really cannot. We've got to be setting out. We must be sharing and reminding people of what was said all the way back in 2017, even before the whole COVID thing hit. Liao! Hey, there she is. All right, that's my partner in crime. She's over with us in Talanoa Sao, so that's really awesome to see her there. Yes, they only showed the parts. They misled the unknown ones. That's what's been said there. Lucy, my heart goes out to our thousands of Nelson whānau with floods, etc., climate issues, losing their homes. Please select appropriate council meeting members to select their communities and know their community, but also uphold our voluntary fire crews. Fighters, thank you all. Yep, well said, nicely said. All right, absolutely, our heart does go out to Nelson. If we can give, it'd be great to make sure that we're out there. I will say, and of course, I find this quite detestable. I will say, oh, no, this one was quite funny. When you see Miss Ardern, when she went there, a whole lot of people were not smiling. They were not happy. And I don't think it was the moment when they snapped the shot that it must have been a serious moment. A lot of those people look very unhappy, just very unhappy to be watching her. And it'd be fascinating to know what some of them think. It really would, Joanne, a 23-year-old dropped dead in front of his mum and little sister. Doctor said he had a heart attack and lung infection. I mean, I cannot give you my sources, but I have been hearing from people I trust that doctors have been telling them on the sly that they've never seen things so bad. They've never seen things so bad. So when you talk about the DHBs, the hospitals, the GP clinics, the doctors are saying it's so bad, and they're seeing so much danger being done from the vaccines. Now, before before the government tries to shut me down, that is from what I've heard. That is my opinion, that I believe them. All right, because it comes from very, very trustworthy sources. All right, it's just absolutely shocking. Now, I did want to share something, and it sort of just came up to us, and I'm really angry. All right, just extraordinarily angry over this. All right, Trevor Mallard, as you may know, he's left, or he's semi-resigned at the moment. This came through. All right, disabled, terminally ill among first victims of Trevor Mallard, but media refused to tell the story. Okay, well, why? What was said? So it turns out that during the freedom protests, that Trevor Mallard actually went and was quite disgraceful. So this is in May 2019. All right, and Defend NZ have been trying to ask different media sources to just report on this. Just report. All right? And so what happened was they made sure that there was an MP to have a look at the special event at Parliament, and these are I'm going to pop down here. All right? These are some of them. All right? Some of them have terminal illnesses. In fact, I think maybe all of those, some of the people in there have terminal illnesses. All right, one of them had a brain tumor, and they just turned up and they were just doing a small protest area. It wasn't anything massive or issue. It was not there. There was no illegal activity whatsoever. None. All right, Trevor Mallard came up, and this is what he said. Or this is the testimony of here. I watched stunned as Trevor Mallard stood over a woman with terminal brain cancer and berated her with a raised voice, threatening her with a trespass notice as she sat in her wheelchair, made powerless and with eyes watering. Made powerless. Trevor Mallard bullied again. All right. I want to read that again. I watched stunned as Trevor Mallard stood over a woman with terminal brain cancer and berated her with a raised voice, threatening her with a trespass notice as she sat in her wheelchair, made powerless and with eyes watering. Trevor Mallard is an asshole. He's a scumbag. All right. I happen to know the person who said this. I hold their word in very high regard, and he was there to witness it. Yeah, I know. I almost never swear on these things, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting that he has had so much power, that he has been one of the most powerful men in New Zealand. And on top of that, we have paid him out hundreds of thousands. In fact, 35 years? Okay, millions. We've paid him millions. All right, I'm very comfortable saying that New Zealand has paid this man millions of taxpayer funds. And what happens now after he erroneously accused someone of rape, had to pay out with taxpayer dollars again, punched out another MP, has engaged in disgusting chats, removed the name of Jesus from Parliament. And now we find out that, he basically went off in there and bullied a woman with brain cancer, stuck in her wheelchair, no less. All right, it wasn't like she was out of the wheelchair and she was strongly standing there so that you couldn't make a mistake? No. No, that's not what it looked like. How dare he? You see that? That is the person who we pay. That is the person who we pay. That is the person we've paid for decades. All right. I don't think he had a very decent career before all this either, actually. What he's actually done for us as a people. He's made our name mud. He's embarrassed us, shamed us. He has attacked New Zealanders, Kiwis, people who cannot fight back, no less. He was the one who made that petulant, disgustingly immature, childish idea of turning on the speakers, making the sprinklers go. He's a petulant child. And I wonder, you could even stretch it out. If you're talking about putting the music on and the COVID ads on throughout the night and day, I was talking to a couple of guys over the last few years, and they told me that actually torture is no longer fingernail pulling and all that sort of stuff. You want to truly torture someone, you engage in sleep deprivation. And that's what Trevor Mallard thought to do to his own people who were engaging in protest. All right, peaceful protest. If you want to go with the Fire and Fury article trying to attack on the last day, that protest was actually pretty peaceful. And this is the man who we are sending to Ireland. Why? I think it's because it's another way of doing a bit of a handshake. She's no good. All right, he's an asshole. All right, I know I shouldn't say that. I know that, but I think I truly try to find something with people that, even if we oppose each other, and I do this in debates when I'm at university and those places, even the people screaming at me and hating on me and try to call me different names, I don't not like them. I love to engage with them, have fights with them. It's all good. It's really, really good. But I don't hate them. I don't really not like them. I think Trevor Mallard and a few others who I do not like. I can't stand them. I think they are not good people. I don't think they're good people at all. I think they're disgraceful, and they're making our name absolute mud. They really are. All right, Nancy's here. Yep. Okay. He needs a couple of C19 gems, authentic ones. All right, Yep, totally. Well said. Joke, time to get serious, people. Melissa Dobbs, very peaceful. Absolutely. Gosh, it. Oh, I tell you what, I wish, I had to be here. I had to be sort of like in the background trying to get all of the different parts sorted, man. But, man, my team were having a blast. That's going to be one of those things that you remember when you're older and older and older and older. You're going to say, I was there. Yeah, it was great. Oh, awesome. The media, those media, as they get older and older, they're going to be able to say, oh, I was up on the balustrade doing what I said. All right. Can I just sort of jump in there as well? All right. And just say, as well, don't forget, part of this article here, what's the title? Disabled and terminally ill among first victims of Trevor Mallard, but media refused to tell the story. All right. The media is the enemy of the people. I don't think anyone's in any real thoughts about that, They tried their best to get it around to the media, but they just wouldn't report on it. This is the media that we have now. It's just a shocking area of journalism. It was just disgusting. All right. Lou Fountain, Carl Bromley is here. Please interview him. People have to know what he and many are up against. Carl Bromley, eh? Carl Bromley. If he's in there, awesome. No problem. But I'm not sure if he's there or not. If he's there, All good. I'll send something off to him, and maybe we can have a bit of a chit chat with him. All right. Liao has said that yes, she was there. Yes, I know that you were there. Very good. All right. But I want us to really be aware as to what's going on. You've got Counterspin now has been arrested again and attacked to them. All right. You had Chantal Baker just being brought down, and in fact, I believe they deleted the page. There's a lot of power here that they've actually got, and I think that's something which is we really do need to be aware of, and we need to be together and united. And I think that is something which is also really quite interesting to see what's going on. I did want to have a talk about this as well. It's one of the last things I sort of wanted to discuss. All right. So this, of course, came up. The Māori Language Commissioner, I think she got a little bit triggered. You know, this was the cartoon. From at least the person who's put this up, this term we're going to learn to say, I failed English, Maths and Science in Te Reo Māori. All right. And so Miss Higgins, or Professor Rawinia Higgins, she basically went on a bit of a rant. She wrote quite nicely, I think. So that was, I think that part was okay, but she just went on and on about it. Now, oh yes, Kate, absolutely. Yes, they also stopped Avi Yemeni. You know, they stopped Avi Yemeni from coming into here. Again, really shocking sort of stuff. You know, New Zealand, we're quite cut off from the rest of the world. You know, we really are in more ways than one, and it's just shocking to know that we really have a media or an information source who just treat us like rubbish. We're nearly like a petri dish. It really does feel like it, you know. Chrissy Miller, I would like to apologise in advance to Ireland and in advance on behalf of some New Zealanders. Yep, fair enough. Yep, well said. Well said. All right, very good. Bernard Stewart, he's just like Willie Jackson. They're both a disgrace. But yes, sending Mallard to Ireland, they would have him for breakfast. As for mainstream media, I just stopped watching any news as it is all fake or false information. All right. Yep, absolutely. I don't know. I know what you guys are saying. You know, the Irish, pretty tough and able to be a punch. But I think Ireland has become a lot more progressive than what you think. All right. They were one of the most extreme abortion areas. I think they were the more extreme ones. Of course, we've overtaken them, and now we kill babies up to and including during birth, or it's allowed now to kill babies up to and including birth. Also, don't forget that under New Zealand abortion laws, the reforms, that the Labour, some of the Nationals and the other guys, they were able to block an attempt to at least give painkillers to babies getting killed in a late term pregnancy. So don't forget, this is also the government who managed to block that. So there was a group of pro-life politicians who wanted to at least give painkillers, that if you were going to literally rip the baby's arms, legs off, then at least give them painkillers. At least that. The government couldn't even do that. And so they basically, no, get stuff, you're not going to do that. All right, so again, this is the government that we now have. All right, utterly shocking. All right, Yvette, you're looking to join or form a political party? Oh, jeez. Okay, hang on, let me just drink my. Sorry, I'm having Lothlorien tonight. Are you looking to join or form a political party? Yvette, I don't know. I don't know. That's straight up, I don't know. I'm seeing how it goes. Yes, many of you will know that I follow a particular belief structure. I have a belief structure in that I feel that I have not been prompted one way or the other on anything. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little bit lost at the moment. I really like Matt King's party. I really like it. There are maybe 4 or 5 people in National who I like. That's 4 or 5 people in National. Don't forget also my favourite or the man who I have a great deal, or the greatest integrity and trust in, is actually a National guy, and that's Simon O'Connor. All right, he is a absolutely powerful man. I'm not sure if anyone has seen the Freedom or the Road to Freedom documentary, the teaser. All right, and in the teaser, they actually use the first spoken words are actually by Simon O'Connor. You know, and I think that's a testament in itself. You know, that they would still stretch into one of the mainstream parties and actually still collect words from the last surviving Conservative, as far as I'm seeing. Chris Miller, talk with Matt King, join up with him. Yeah, you know, I really do. I do like Matt. I do like him. We've had a few chats. All right, I won't tell you too much about the chats, but he's a cool guy. I do like it. I also think he's got a really good shot as well. I really do, and I wish him all the best in that. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't ask or that I wouldn't agree or to come on board. I'm just saying at the moment I don't know. I really, really don't know. All right. Joe, they leave full-term babies to die on the table. Now, that's not common. That's not common practice. But of course, Voice for Life and Voice for Life are very careful to get their records very straight. They are very careful because they're attacked all the time. They did report about at least one baby who was left on the table to die. We know that in the US that has happened before. We also know in the US that they are trying to make bills so that you can kill a baby up to 28 days after the baby has been born. That's the level of evil, the filth that they are actually engaging in. In New Zealand, they would definitely try that if they think they could get away with it. All right, just shocking. Tina, Simon O'Connor. So I'm not sure what that's in reference with, but yes, Simon O'Connor is my favourite politician currently. He's been that way for quite a while. You know, he's a guy who will stand up. All right, he got in trouble, I remember, for calling euthanasia legal suicide, which he's absolutely right. It is suicide. It is legal suicide. Yes, I know that many of you out there also want to have the choice. That if it comes to that, you can have that choice. The fact is, you can. As in you could in the old laws as well. That's actually how it went. But many people didn't realise, of course, that the laws that they thought, no, the whole thing's all cancelled. That was incorrect. But I understand. Marketing is a powerful thing. Christine has come in. Christine McLeod, did you know that the new speaker is Ratana and didn't vote for the end of life or the abortion bills? Ah, okay. That's cool. Thank you, Christine. All right, that's really interesting. I like that. So I don't know much about this Ratana. I don't know about this new speaker, but yes, I do know Ratana. Ratana is also, I did a study on Ratana. Great man. Oh, I really rate him. Really do like him. Powerful man. What's happened to his descendants? Okay, that's another story a bit. Some are really good, some are really bad. But Ratana himself, a great man of God, really enjoyed it. Robin, I looked for legislation and could not find it. Robin, I think if you're talking about abortion, I'm not sure if you are or not. I do apologise. If you are, it's under the Sterilization and Abortion Act or something like that. If you want to have a look there. Also, if you want to have a look, and this is something which I went on for 2 years before they put it in place, is that what I said was the abortion reforms are nothing less than the removal of an unborn baby from the definition of a human. All right, that's what I was saying. And of course, when it came out, one of the things they amended was the Crimes Act. All right, and in the Crimes Act, they amended what is a person. So when you talk about murder, it's no longer if you're pregnant and someone stabs you and kills your baby inside. Now it was arguably you could actually do a double murder. Well, no longer. In the Crimes Act, after they put through the extreme abortion bill, one of the other things that they were able to do was to change the definition of human or personhood. So unborn babies are no longer people. They're not persons. You must be a human life is valid in the eyes of the New Zealand law once the baby is fully removed from the womb, and I believe it's with the possibility of the umbilical cord still intact. So, but the baby must be entirely removed, not half or anything, but entirely removed from the womb, and then they are a human being. All right, and I think it was disgraceful. Oh, Siena Misiepo. Wow. Hey. I know Sienna. I'm wondering if I'm allowed to say who she is. She's someone who I have a great deal of love for. A huge amount of love for, actually. So it's really good to see her on there. Very good. Solution to all this. I'm sure many of you guys would say, well, I know this. First off, I think the first solution is to reinstall the conservative parameters. If you look at the greatest civilization on Earth in the history of mankind, it is the Western society. Yep, I know people want to stab it and say, oh my gosh, evil white colonization, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. But the fact is, the Western civilization has pulled up more people out of poverty than any other ideology, whether it's secular, religious, or whatever it is. It's pulled out more people from that. It's given more hope to people, and in fact, it's actually helped more. And I'll use this for any wokes out there. It's actually given more hope and freedom and life to people of color than any other form of ideology. All right, and Western civilization, of course, is that combination of Judeo-Christian principles, ethics, and morals, and the ancient Greek democracy, that rule of law by the majority. All a bunch of nuances, but all within that Western thing. So we need to actually reinstall those areas. We need to put love back in there for the family unit. We must repair the family unit. I'm not sure if you saw today or not, but there was a report that came out. They said, "Oh my gosh, you've got the kids who are in state care. They're doing worse and worse and worse." But they, again, same problem, is that when you look at the children who are ram raiding, if you look at the kids who are gaining in violence and doing rapes and doing other crimes, don't bother looking at the skin color. Don't bother looking, to a degree, don't bother looking at education level or poverty factor. No. Go back and have a look how they grew up. What is the family situation? Again, I spent about 20 years working alongside youth. Broken home. And in that, no father. All right? You want a strong community? It has always been simple. Repair the family unit. Protect the family unit. Uphold the family unit. You protect that, you strengthen that, your rest of society's pretty sweet. All right, that's in levels of crime, that's in levels of economic productivity, all right, that's in terms of sustainable growth, scientific advancement. The having a biological mum and dad contractually obligated, i.e. marriage, and having the children grow up in that, even if you've got some who are really bad, statistically speaking, grows a powerful, strong, growing economy, society, and a moral one at that. It's statistical. If you want to look at the Pearson reports, as in the Dunedin longitudinal study, the longitudinal study in the US, the one that followed them for every 7 years, and even the UK one, the evidence is clear. All right, those who say that it's evil white men, or those who say it's poverty, or those who say education, no. You may have little snippets of that in there. Don't get me wrong, maybe little snippets, but the big core is that family breakdown issue. All right. And we need to also make sure that we defend our borders. We need to make sure we bring in patriotism again. And look, you know what? This is me speaking, all right? And I know that I'm speaking for me. No, I'm speaking for what I think is actually best. One of the reasons why the West is so good is that... So one of the issues that I had with euthanasia is that as a youth worker, I was able to say that to a young person when I was sitting on the gutter with them, your life is precious and valuable. It is valuable and precious because of the fact that you are here with us, that you are a Kiwi, you're a New Zealander, and New Zealand loves you, and you are important and valuable. We don't want you to kill yourself. With euthanasia, you can no longer say that. Now again, putting aside those who, when they are incredibly sick and they want to choose how they go out, you already actually had that option before the law changed. The issue that we have now is that if you are sitting on the corner with a youth who's 17, 18 and they want to off themselves, most of them know that in actual fact it's now legal in New Zealand to kill yourself, and that it's a pretty broad, vague sort of rule. Now, as a youth worker, that means that we don't have a bar to stand on, really. And the mental health and anxiety has already increased. Overseas, anytime that you legalise euthanasia, the traditional form of suicide also increases. So we're not talking about euthanasia, we're talking about the traditional suicide forms. That's what happens. All right, and that's just stats. Those are clean, pure numbers. It's absolutely shocking. All right. Joe, let's take New Zealand back. Yes. Yeah, we need to take New Zealand back. During the campaign in 2020, I said one of my bylines, and it wasn't a marketing, it was just my observation, is I said this is the most important vote, or this is the most important election in the history of New Zealand, going all the way back to 1852. And I said that either we win back what we've lost, or we lose the rest. Now, we lost, we got owned, and Labour took heaps of support, power to them. They got majority power, so then they held everything. And when you look at it, I think that we are losing the other rights and freedoms that we actually had. So now we've sort of tipped over the abyss. We're actually over that chasm. We're over the top of it. We're falling down into a horrific abyss that you just... Well, actually, you do know what it looks like, because we've had socialist nations before in other parts of the countries. We know exactly what it looks like, and it's horrific. And Venezuela, great example. Venezuela was top of the pile. Rich people, they had all the designer gears, all that sort of stuff, They chucked in a socialist socialist leader, and then in the space of, a generation, they've all lost weight. There's no more wild animals walking the street because now they're dead. They've been eaten. The horror that you can find in it is just absolute. It's just shocking, And now, of course, those people who voted for that socialist, now all of them have got buyer's remorse. That's what happens. So the next election it's about, there's a tuft of grass. Can we grab the tuft of grass? Can we do this? Are we able to get through to enough Kiwis to say, brother, love you, wake up. Sister, love you, wake up. And actually start to put your vote and your integrity into one who will not drag us down into the deep, dark core. All right. There was another good one there. Sal has said, what about families who have an abusive father? How do we save that? Yeah, absolutely right. And that is, now here's a good thing. If you can repair the family unit and have that, you're still going to have dickheads and scumbags. All right, you are. But if you have the vast majority, or if you have a lot of the other ones not being a problem, and we repair them, and we make it more beneficial for them to stay together, then what can happen is that those other ones who are scumbags, or those ones who need support, so either to be smacked around to be punished themselves, or to actually be supported, you've got more resources to do it. Whether it's a stick, whether it is prison, whether it is having better facilitated guards and police on hand, or whether it is actually being able to give targeted response, temporary benefits, or to help people to gather around them, to give social investment in those systems. That's how you do it. Because if you can help the others, well, at the moment it's not working because you've got so many all over the place. They're all benefit addicted. Sorry, not all, but many of them are addicted to benefits, and that removes the desire to be tenacious, to strive forward for something, to be positive and strong in living your life. All right, you don't have that a lot of the times. And don't forget, we subsidize solo parenthood. So when you look, the last stats, honestly, I can't find clean stats since 2013. Now, since 2013, things have gotten worse, not better, worse and more numerous. But in 2013, in the over 200,000 families who were broken families, 85%, roughly 85%, were mum-led. All right, so that means that over in 85%, whether there was 1, 2, 3 or more children, that you actually had a missing father, or at least a father who was not consistently around. All right, and that's the problem. You take care of the majority, then the others get more resources. It's all good. Kate has said that she's in the Pearson study. You're in the Christchurch, the Dunedin study. Oh, good on you. Yeah, no, well done. Good on you. Good stuff. All right. Kathy, idealistic, my dear man. I know many from a good thump never hurt them. End result, thuggish bully in and out of care. You're moving topics rather quickly. Kathy, yep. I don't know if I'm moving topics very quickly. I know I've only got like about 8 minutes left or so. But if you want to know about if you want the ones where you get real brutality and cruelty, real cruel. Like I'm talking kitten chopping, I'm talking the ones where they want to cause you pain just to have a look, then those are the ones who actually don't have any boundaries whatsoever. So when I've worked with the kids who have had overly disciplined parents, as in they smack too much, then that's bad, but that's actually quite, I don't know, fixable, but that's much easier to sort of help correct them in that area. If you get the ones who just abuse them and attack them and vent their frustration out on them, yeah, that's really bad. We generally find that those kids become really abusive to others, really violent to others. The most violent, the ones, and I've only come across two who I believe we can't really help them. We can manage them, but I don't think we can intervene them. That's my thoughts. There's only two. And so those two, and also the other ones where they're growing in brutality, like a very cold form of brutality, a sociopathic type, they don't have any boundaries. There are no boundaries. So they generally have a mum. The father's gone off, usually doesn't care, and they don't have boundaries. So they can go out any time of day or night. The mum just goes, F it, and just carries on. There's no boundaries. And those are the ones who I've seen have become steadily more and more brutal and cruel for no apparent reason. Obviously, there's a source of it, but no apparent reason. Whereas others, like one who's been overly disciplined, for example, someone might do something mean to them, and their violent attack back is generally not hatred, but rather an incorrect sense of justice and fairness. Oh, they did something to me, so I'm going to crack them back. And then there's usually tears after that when we correct them. But you want the real sociopathic kind, what you're looking for is those who don't have any areas of issue. Now, can I just tell you that myself and other youth workers have already been... Look, first off, don't think of this as a I told you so, all right? That's not what this is. But we have been trying our best to warn government and to warn the community about this flood of youth crime spikes ever since 2015, 2016. We already knew about it a little bit before that, but 2015, 2016 started something, and then the National Party actually started pushing for the cops to no longer charge youth accurately. Rather, they made them give them occurrences, and the occurrences meant that if a child was stealing and then maybe beating up a kid for the bike, they wouldn't be charged. Instead, they would get a warning, and then that occurrence would be recorded. Now, the problem with that, of course, is that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and their behaviour was escalating in violence as well as normal theft, drug use, and all of the rest of it. So by the time they hit youth court, of course, their issues had escalated into much more violent areas. Now, when you go to youth justice, and I don't know if you've seen certain YJ people discuss this, but I can tell you, because I'm out of the game now, I keep real close links in. So when they go to YJ, you get nice hot food, you get safe areas, you get to chill out, you've got aircon, you'll have nights, you'll have pizza night and video night and movie night. You're in a ward with maybe half a dozen other people usually. You know that you're going to get up and you're going to have a good feed, and you're pretty much safe. All right, you know that. There's a high ratio of people to it. It's not a problem. Once you're out there in the community, you can attack people and all that sort of stuff. The social workers will give you free or taxpayer-funded bikes. And this is stuff that I've seen. Taxpayer-funded bikes, taxpayer-funded trips to Rainbow's End, taxpayer-funded trips to Monkey Tree Adventures, to getting anything and everything that you sort of want. That's on top of the taxpayer-funded allowance that everyone who's in care gives, a YJ care or Oranga Tamariki. And also the 3 monthly, $400 that they get taxpayer funded as well for any type of clothes that they can get. Now, why am I saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because what New Zealand is doing to young people who are escalating in violence and theft and all these sorts of things, these violent crimes and everything, is that they're not being given any negative consequences for their behaviour. YJ is not a negative consequence overall. They're able to get away with everything. Now, what I mean by that, once you hit 14, yeah, you can go to youth justice, but even then you've got a pretty easy ride there, no problem. In fact, what do the guys do is that they'll pump it up. They'll just use a whole lot of weights and you know, they like to pretend like they're all hardcore and stuff like that. 13 and 12 and 11-year-olds, and I'm not going to tell you how I get my information, but let's just say my information comes from Waikato. It comes from the lower north a little bit, but mostly from Waikato, Auckland, and up north. So I have most of my links are sort of in those areas. The 11, 12, and 13-year-olds are being used more and more, and those are for violent crimes, those are for ram raids, those are for dairy attacks, those are for tobacco stealing. They're being used also to move drugs around the country and everything like that. The reason why that is because they cannot be charged at all. They can't actually be touched. Now, you think I'm joking? No, they cannot be touched. All right, so unless it's murder, and I think rape, they can't really be touched. Like they get transported by a taxpayer-funded tracker, and they'll be taken to a hotel or a motel, and then basically they just are left in their rooms, and they are either that or a caregiver. And with the caregivers, they'll eat food, get stuff, and then they'll abscond or they run away when they want. Again, you can't lock these kids in. All right, I think a lot of people think it's otherwise, but no. So what I'm saying is that they don't have no negative consequences, no real desire or requirement to change for the better. And so what happens is that when they hit 17 or 18, I think, they transfer straight from YJ, no consequences, straight into prison, adult prison. And at that point, it's a massive, it is a shocking change of culture. Massive change. Suddenly, you're in a gang, or you're nothing. Or you're a dog. You will be treated like one. You'll be a bum boy. You'll be used and abused all over the place. You will join a gang for that reason. Because they come out of taxpayer-funded everything. Food, lavish comfort, videos, games. Look, when I was doing a behaviour mod unit, when I was looking after the top-tier male youth offenders, you know what we found out? That they were using some of them were using their taxpayer-funded allowances for? Because, of course, at that time, they wanted YJ, but they were still getting the taxpayer-funded allowance. So they'd come out and they'd be given a check for it. We couldn't do anything. So anyway, what we found out was some of them were doing was drugs was normal. Alcohol was a little bit, for some reason, harder for them to get, but drugs was easy as. You know what we found out? That some of them were using it for was prostitution. It was little 13, 14, 15-year-old prostitutes. That's what we found out. Taxpayer funded. That's what you're looking at. Now that was back then. Now things are a whole lot worse. All right, and I haven't even told you about some of the shocking stuff that I've been hearing. All right, I've just told you some lighter stuff. So that's what's been going on in that regards. All right, we don't have a government who is strong. We've got a government who has been spilling millions and millions out on pollsters and media and PR specialists and guys who can write things that make people feel nice ways. All right, it's absolutely shocking. Karen Rush, those kids know their rights. Yes, they do very well. They're getting their instructions from mum or dad or others. No accountability, just a soft landing. So of course they're going to commit crime. Interestingly enough, something which is very common over the last decade and a half that I've seen is that basically the family members will sneak in drugs, and then when they have their family time, what they're actually doing is either they're actually getting stoned together, or they're actually getting stoned and passing over the drugs together so that they can carry it on afterwards. That's what happens in those regards. Rose Wingate, I've been listening to a Spotify podcast called The Gate. Horrific listening about Lake Alice abuse of children. Other care homes have been mentioned. Yep. So there were some horrific things in there, and there were some good things as well in there. Alice Lake. Jeez, Lake Alice was quite interesting. I've even talked to some of the guys who used to work there. So there are some really fascinating things about that place. There's some horrific areas, and so I'm not sure. I haven't been able to pin down as to whether the horrific abusers were individuals within it, or whether it was an area of the institution itself, as in whether it was a particular wing where they would go for certain areas. But it was absolutely disgusting the way some of that stuff was being done. Nikita, I work with youth in and out of youth prison. System aids the behaviour, but question is, what is the way forward? Let's talk. YJ is full of scholars who do... Amen. Nikita, the amount of academics who got no idea about the hood. Sorry. Who don't understand the immediate response required to deal with the ever-changing behaviour. Bureaucrats have also restricted grassroots programs. Their work and government have enabled a process to sabotage real people to help time, resource, outcome. Yeah, you're in the field. Yep. Your words are, whoever. So Nikita is absolutely right, and Nikita's words are very much in line with those of us who are on the front line. In fact, Nikita, I'm sure you're a front liner. I do apologise for giving the impression that you're not. Yep, you're definitely a front liner. So good to see you in here. And I do. This is why, if we can. Youth work. All right, youth work led me to politics. The reason why I got into politics was youth work. In youth work, I had already gone through my denial stage about the Labour Party. I used to love Labour. Labour was all good. Why? Because I'm Pacifica and we're just told to love Labour. Doing youth work led me to realise that Labour Party is actually a ruthless government towards our families. And that goes from 1974 upwards. So it was youth work that led, and it was actually a sex abuse suicide case that actually broke me, and that's when I went down, as it happens to the youth workers. And then when I came back up, I did a whole bunch of study, looked into the family systems and why it's broken down. Is it colonialism? Is it poverty? Is it education? Is it a mixture of that? What is it? So when I backtracked down, that's where I found that yes, it actually was specifically because of family breakdown. That's also the same as the black family over in the US. That's also in a lot of the West Indian ones and the other areas, like for example London and England and Malaysia and all those angles. And it was actually the Labour Party. So the reason why I joined politics originally was because to fix the young people who engage in high violence, you must fix the family. It's not about fixing the poverty, education. It's not about fixing white people or whatever. All right, it's about fixing the family unit. You fix the family unit, you're sweet ass, on the whole. And it is actually the government. I would love to say it wasn't, but it's the government who have made the environment hostile to a family unit. And a lot of that has to do with simple benefit addiction to benefits. All right, as weird as it sounds, as dumb as it sounds, you wouldn't think it, but the numbers are clear. All right, you just can't argue with the numbers. That's the problem. So and Nikita's absolutely right. You've really got to get to those grassroots. If we want to repair or intervene with the areas of issue, we need to allow the grassroots to go up. So what was it? Te whānau ora? No, not Te whānau ora. I think Te Ora Tangata. So there are some great programs out there. Man Up, Legacy, great programs, powerful programs, powerful. It don't matter what you think of Brian Tamaki, Hana, it doesn't matter. Those programs are through the roof gold, absolute gold. All right. So, look, Karen, Pacific people brought into the country to vote Labour, yet they are treated so badly. Dawn raids, etc. So sad. Absolutely right. All right. I've publicly called out Alpito Seal because I say that as Palangi as I look, The fact is, I carry more Pacifica values than he does, and I think he's a whaiwhiao, and he's got a pea, which is that chiefly aspect. But all right, I doubt it. So look, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. Yeah, it was late night, and it's so cool just to see you guys around and discussing. I am looking for a time slot which is best comfortable for my family and for your family so that we can come together and have a bit of a discourse. So I thank you for listening in. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I think that's all good. We need that, eh? We need to be able to chat about that. So until then, I'll see you tomorrow night. I'll see you tomorrow night anyway. All right, but until then, God bless you. God bless New Zealand. And God bless the freedoms and the sacrifices that our people made for all of us yesterday. God bless you.